your money is already moving. And if you don't know the exact dates, you could be left wondering why your bank account looks different this month. Here's what's actually happening right now. The Social Security Administration is operating on a fixed 2026 payment calendar, and your specific payment date is tied directly to your birthday. If your birthday falls between the 1st and 10th, you get paid the second Wednesday. The 11th through the 20th, third Wednesday, and the 21st through the 31st lands on the fourth Wednesday of the month. Miss that window and you might think your payment is late, when really you just didn't know your date. On top of that, a 2.8% cost of living adjustment kicked in for 2026, up from 2.5% last year, in pushing the average monthly retirement check to roughly $2,071, and the maximum possible benefit this year has climbed to $5,181 per month, though what you actually receive depends on your full earnings history. This month's payments reflect those adjusted amounts, and knowing your exact timeline isn't optional. It's how you protect your financial footing. Stay with me, because we're breaking all of it down right now. So let's get into exactly what is happening right now, because there is a lot of real information that you absolutely need to understand, and a lot of noise out there designed to confuse you. The first thing you need to know is that your Social Security payment this month is not arriving on a random date. Every single payment the Social Security Administration sends out follows a very specific locked-in schedule that is tied directly to the day of the month you were born. This is a system that has been in place for decades, and once you understand it, you will never again have to wonder when your money is coming. So let's walk through this together, clearly and slowly, so there is zero confusion by the time you're done watching this video. The Social Security Administration staggers payments across the month to manage distributions for the more than 70 million retirees, survivors, and disabled workers who depend on the program. Think about that number for a second. 70 million people. That is not a small operation. The government cannot wire money to 70 million accounts all on the same day, which is exactly why they divide everyone into groups based on their birthdays. It is a logistical system, not a favoritism system. Nobody gets their money early because they are special. It all comes down to the number of the day you were born. Here is how it breaks down for March 2026. If you were born between the 1st and 10th of any month, your payment came on Wednesday, March 11th. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, your payment came on Wednesday, March 18th. And if your birthday is between the 21st and the 31st, your payment is dated Wednesday, March 25th. There is also a separate group that gets paid differently. Those who filed their Social Security claims before May 1st, 1997, received their payments on the 3rd of each month, which in March meant Tuesday, March 3rd. That group has a different payment structure because when they signed up, the birthday-based system didn't exist yet. If you started collecting back in the 1980s or early 1990s, this is likely you. And you've probably already noticed that your payment always shows up near the beginning of the month. Now, here is something that tripped up a lot of SSI recipients this month, and if you know someone who collects supplemental security income, you need to share this with them. SSI recipients did not receive a March payment in March at all because March 1st fell on a Sunday. The Social Security Administration sent the March payment early on Friday, February 27th. This is not a missing check. This is not a glitch. This is not a sign that anything went wrong with your account. The SSA simply moved the payment up by 2 business days to avoid the weekend, which means if you are an SSI recipient, that money hit your bank account on the last Friday of February. The regular schedule resumes in April, and this same thing will happen 2 more times this year, in August and in November. So write that down because you will not be caught off guard when it happens again. Now let's talk about the actual dollar amounts because this is where things get really important for your personal finances. Social Security beneficiaries and supplemental security income recipients received a 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2026 with increased payments beginning in January of this year. That 2.8% increase is directly tied to inflation, specifically to the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which the government tracks every year to measure how much everyday costs have gone up. When the cost of groceries, gas, rent, utilities, and medical care rises, the COLA is supposed to make sure your Social Security check rises with it. That is the whole point of the adjustment. It is not a bonus. It is not a gift. It is the government's way of trying to keep your purchasing power from shrinking year after year. According to Kiplinger, the 2.8% increase translates to an additional $56 per month for the average retiree, bringing the average monthly retirement check to $2,070 in 2026. Now, $56 might not sound like a fortune, but if you think about it across 12 months, that is nearly $672 more per year than you were getting in 2025. For someone on a fixed income, that extra money matters, whether it covers a higher electric bill, an extra prescription, or even just a couple of full tanks of gas. Every dollar counts when you are managing a household on a retirement income, and you should know exactly how much your check has changed and why. But here is the thing, not everyone is getting the same amount. The $2,071 average figure is just that, an average. Your actual benefit amount depends entirely on your individual earnings history over your working years, the age at which you first claimed benefits, and whether you received any reductions or credits along the way. Some people get considerably less than $2,071 per month. Some people get considerably more. According to the Social Security Administration, if you retire at full retirement age in 2026, the maximum benefit you could receive is $450 per month. If you claimed at age 62, the most possible is $2,169. And if you waited all the way to age 70, the maximum monthly benefit climbs to $5,181. That spread is enormous, and it illustrates just how much the timing of when you first claimed your benefits affects the size of every check you receive for the rest of your life. The figure in this video's title, Payments Up to $1,950, reflects the range that a significant portion of retirees fall into based on their earnings history and when they claimed. Not everyone will be exactly at that number. Some will be above it, some below. But the point is that with the COLA applied this year, millions of Americans are seeing their monthly payment land in or above that range for the first time. And if you are not sure exactly what your current benefit amount is, the fastest way to find out is to log in to your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Your exact payment amount is listed there, and so is your payment date, your benefit history, and your Medicare information. If you do not have an account yet, creating one takes about 10 minutes and it is completely free. Now let's talk about something that most YouTube videos and news articles are dancing around, because it is uncomfortable, but it is real and it is coming, and you deserve to know the full truth. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office released its updated budget and economic outlook, projecting that Social Security's Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will be depleted by 2032, 1 year earlier than previously estimated. Let that sink in for a moment. The trust fund that pays your Social Security retirement benefits is on track to run dry in just 6 years. And if Congress does not act before that happens, the consequences are serious. Under current law, the government would not have legal authority to pay benefits beyond available receipts, meaning benefits paid to all recipients would be cut by approximately 7% in 2032, deepening to an average of 28% per year from 2033 through 2036. That is not a small cut. A 28% reduction on a $2,071 monthly check would take away roughly $580 every single month. For someone receiving the average retirement benefit, that translates to an initial cut of about $145 per month in 2032, increasing to $580 per month in subsequent years. For a couple that is both receiving Social Security, the combined hit could be over $1,000 per month in lost income. People are not talking about this enough, and they should be. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a political talking point from either side of the aisle. This is math, documented, published, nonpartisan math from the Congressional Budget Office, which is the government's own independent financial analysis arm. What made things worse is that two major pieces of legislation in recent years accelerated the depletion timeline. The bipartisan Social Security Fairness Act, which passed in January 2025, eliminated two provisions that had previously reduced benefits for certain government workers: the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, which added to Social Security's shortfall by approximately $200 billion over 10 years. Additionally, recent tax legislation reduced the income tax that higher income retirees pay on their Social Security benefits, which further reduced revenue flowing back into the trust fund. Both of these things were done with good intentions to help seniors, but the combined effect has pushed the insolvency date forward faster than anyone had projected just 2 or 3 years ago. Now, here is what you need to understand about what depletion actually means, because a lot of people hear that word and think Social Security is going to disappear entirely. It is not. If the trust fund reserves are depleted, the Social Security Administration would not stop administering benefits, but the agency could be forced to trim the amount it pays to beneficiaries. The program would still exist. Payroll taxes would still be coming in. The issue is that those incoming taxes would only cover a fraction of what has been promised, so the program would not vanish. But your check could shrink significantly unless Congress steps in and makes changes before 2032. What could Congress actually do? Proposals on the table include requiring people earning over $400,000 to pay payroll taxes on all income above that level, creating a new investment fund that would allow Social Security to invest in stocks and other assets with a Treasury-backed boost, and a combination of tax adjustments and benefit restructuring aimed at closing the funding gap over the next 75 years. Neither party has agreed on a solution, and that is exactly why the clock is ticking. The most important thing you can do as a beneficiary right now is stay informed, pay attention to what your representatives in Congress are doing about this issue, and make your voice heard. You have earned these benefits. You paid into this system for decades. You deserve to know what is at stake. Let's also talk quickly about what happens if your payment doesn't arrive when you expect it. First, take a breath. Don't panic. If your electronic payment is late, the SSA recommends reaching out to your bank or financial institution first, since delays can sometimes happen on the bank's end before the funds fully post to your account. If the bank confirms the money was never received, then you call the Social Security Administration directly. Their main number is 1-800-772-1213, and TTY users can call 1-800-325-0778. You can also contact your local Social Security office in person. The SSA is very clear that if a payment is due and confirmed missing, it will be reviewed and replaced. You are not going to lose that money permanently, but you do need to follow the proper steps to get it resolved quickly. One more thing that is worth mentioning as we wrap up this section: the maximum amount of earnings subject to Social Security payroll taxes increased to $184,500 for 2026, up from $176,100. And this is relevant for anyone who is still working or whose family members are still in the workforce. That higher taxable maximum means higher earners are contributing more to the system this year, which slightly extends the fund's runway. But as you now know, it is not enough on its own to close the gap. The structural problem is bigger than 1 year's contribution adjustment can fix. So here is the big picture as of March 2026. Your payments are arriving this month on a schedule tied to your birthday. The amounts reflect a 2.8% cost of living increase that began in January. The average check is now $2,071, with maximums ranging well above that, depending on your personal earnings history and claiming age. SSI recipients already got their March payment in late February because of the calendar shift. That is not a missing check. That is just the schedule. And underneath all of this current good news, there is a serious long-term funding challenge that every American who depends on Social Security needs to be watching closely, because the decisions Congress makes or fails to make over the next few years will directly determine the size of your check in the 2030s and beyond. Stay with this channel because we will be covering every development as it happens.